let's move on. All right, to our last topic of the show. The most emotional, most impactful. How would we title this one? Most impactful game.
Most.
I think impactful.
What games have given you the most feels?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
feels.
The feels.
This one is also your topic.
Yep.
So you want to
Start off on this one.
well,
as well?
like kind of talk. Yeah, I guess kind of intro it or some sort.
Okay, so I came up with this idea because I think, like, I guess for people who don't play video games or whatever, you guys who are clicking on your phones with your silly little kid app games. No offense to people who play app games. But I think over time, I think ever since maybe probably SNES, to be honest, games, even NES, but I think games have been able to draw more and more complex emotions. And also they're becoming more and more cinematic just with the more technology we get.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing necessarily. But I still do think in terms of cinematic games and blah, 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 the point of a game is to play it too.
Yeah.
It helps to have a good story, but at the end of the day, I don't always want to feel like I'm playing a movie.
Yeah.
But there are times where the interaction comes in with choices. That's what I like, if it's going to be super cinematic or something like that. I remember throughout my history of playing video games, there's always been times where a video game has like touched me, or just emotionally, right? And just left an impact where I was just sitting there like, wow, that's pretty great, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just sometimes it doesn't have to be that far. It's just like it's in my head and I'm just thinking like mechanically about games or game design or something, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Even back then when I didn't understand like mechanics or game design, I would just be like, well, I like it when that thing blows up. That's cool.
I gotta get those shield things for the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'll talk about my negative experience with video games, something that had me raging.
Okay.
So, as a kid, for whatever reason, I always got stuck. I want to say I'm the best at video games, but as a kid, I always
You don't want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I always got stuck with these very difficult games for whatever reason. Like later on, fast forward a couple years or maybe a month or a few months later, the only reason I figured out how to play the Yu-Gi-Oh game, right, is because I was playing Hot Wheels with my friend in the grass, right? And we were just racing the cars on the track or whatever. And I feel like I hear a buzzing and I feel something land on my face and it flies away, right? And my mom comes outside and she's like, what happened to you? And I was like, what's up? And like at the time, I was like this. And my eyes and my cheeks were like, and she was like, what happened to you? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, come in here right now and look in the mirror. And I go inside and look in the mirror. I was like, oh. And she was like, what happened? I was like, oh, I think a bee stung me. And she was like, we're going to go to we're going to Fred Meyer's. We're getting you ice right now. We're going to blah, blah, blah. And so luckily it was in summer, or I didn't even have school yet at the time or whatever. And it took like, I want to say a day or two. So that whole time I was like, what can I do? And it was hard for me to see. Like, it was really hard for me to see. So I couldn't play any of the games I was playing because they took a lot of skills. So I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since it was turn-based.
Yeah,
click
you
and
didn't
do
have
options.
to do very much.
And while I was doing it, I had the revelation of how to play that game.
A vision came to you.
And I was like, this is how you attack, because I didn't understand how to attack or go through the turns and like the phases in battle. And so I had that revelation. But I always got stuck with really difficult games. So I got stuck with the Star Wars game. And then shortly after getting my Game Boy Advance, I was with my stepdad, because I would swap with my mom's stepdad to hang out with them every once in a while. And my stepdad lived with my uncle as well. So it was really cool because they were both brothers and they were both really cool. Like my uncle really liked Transformers and he got me into that. But my stepdad saw that my Game Boy Advance. He's like, oh, all right, we're getting you some games. And I was like, all right, cool. And he was like, he obviously had a lot of gaming experience. So he chose the games for me first. He chose Super Mario Bros. 3 and Donkey Kong Country 2 for the Game Boy Advance.
Not bad.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I was playing them and I enjoyed them. I enjoyed Donkey Kong Country 2 more so than Super Mario Bros. 3.
Was it just a port of actual? Like,
yeah, it was just the port of the games.
Oh, because I liked those.
And
those
they were
Donkey
good
Kong
games.
I like those games.
Even though I think the Donkey Kong Country 2 game was pretty hard, but
It is later on. Yeah, I will agree with that.
because I got pretty far in that game, but it was pretty difficult. But so as a kid, I really liked Zelda, and the Zelda game I played a lot. So I had only played console Zelda games at this point in time because my friend had an SNES, my other friend had a N64, and so most of the games I had played were just random console Zelda games, like the original Zelda, and then like a little bit of Link to the Past, and then Ocarina of Time a lot. Like I would go over to my friends every day to beat that game, and I loved that game as a kid.
Oh, you were one of those kids that would go over and beat the game for their friends.
Yeah, well, because I didn't have any of this stuff, and they were like, well, do you want to play it? And
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah. Just straight up, yeah.
Done.
And so I go into Game Crazy one day, and I'm with my mom, and I see this sign, and it's like Zelda. And this was when they were doing the like NES throwback collection for the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
So they had the special NES Game Boy Advance SP, and then they had like Metroid, Super Mario Bros, like the originals. But I didn't understand. Like what throwbacks or repackaging. Like I didn't understand that Super Mario Bros. 3 was just a port, because everything was new to me as a kid. And so we go in, and I thought this was a new Zelda game, and I was like, and I had just got done playing Ocarina of Time, so I was like, I can play Zelda on my, and I didn't understand graphical limitation. I thought these were all stylistic choices for the handheld, and because like I didn't consider Game Boy and then Game Boy Advance games to be like, I didn't consider Game Boy to be inferior to Game Boy Advance. I was just like, oh well, this one just doesn't have color. This one does. Blah blah blah. And so I was like, I need this game, and she was like, well, what are you gonna do for me? I was like, I don't know. I'll be really good. Like, I'll do this, please. I really like Zelda. And she was like, fine, we'll get it. And so I got the Zelda game. Oh my gosh. So the Zelda game was Zelda 2.
The side scroller?
The Adventure of Link. Yeah, the side scroller. So I don't think it's a bad game. It's like, it's the second Zelda game, so they were just trying something new, but oh my gosh, do I have a history with that game? I hate that game. I hate that game so much because, first of all, you gotta level up. There's experience in the game to build stats for your character. It's like takes an RPG appeal, and it's side-scrolling, which, like, I didn't hate side-scrollers as a kid. I was just like, this is not Zelda. And there's random battle encounters, and the game is hard. It is so hard. Like, it's pretty open. Like, you can do a lot of exploration even without being the first dungeon or whatever, but it was unbelievably hard, and every time I would die, I'd have to get taunted by Ganon as like been resurrected with your blood. You lose, and then I was like, well, great. What do I do? So I have to restart every single time, and you always restart at the Hyrule castles where Zelda is sleeping every single time, and I was so mad at that game. I hated that game. Ugh. Okay.
There's a burning passion for it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's my negative emotions from video games, because it was very frustrating, and they did not hold your hand back.
No, they don't. That's why when people come in and ask for the NES Classic, and it's like, who are you buying this for? Well, I plan on buying it for my kids.
Yeah,
no,
my kid. Like,
don't buy it for your kids. That console is not designed for that. It is designed for the people that played those games beforehand and want to play them again, because those games are freaking hard. I put in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Boop. Go. It's like,
where do you go?
Where do I go to the castle? Like, I go into the castle. Everyone's all frantic. You talk to the king. My daughter was taken and blah. Find this, and you're like,
okay. So where's
where's my objective list? It doesn't exist. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to yours. What do you have a good? What are things that give you feelings of such as good or anger?
So the only game I can really think of. So there's a lot of moments. I would say there's a lot of moments. The only game though that I can think of where I really had like this emotional connection to it, like strong emotional connection to it, was the very first time, and keyword is first playthrough of Journey.
A lot of people love Journey.
The very first time I played through Journey, like I had it pre-ordered, pre-downloaded. I was waiting for it to unlock. Unlocked, played through it, and the music, the graphics, the play style. I can't even describe like the feeling that I had like playing it, and like the
It's
sense
so
of
weird.
Of
a lot of people
had.
have the same feeling of
Yeah.
like.
Have you played it?
I think I own it, but I've never played it.
Oh, dude, you need to play it. You need to put on. So you need to put on like a good pair of headphones, like a good quality pair of headphones, because the soundtrack is phenomenal. And I always tell people you start it and you go. You just go and you just experience it. It only lasts a couple hours.
Aren't these the same guys that made like Flower and
Yeah.
stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Is it not that game company? I don't
Something
know.
like
Something
that.
like that. But yeah, I'm the very first time I played it, and the whole like multiplayer aspect of it was unique. I thought at the time it was unique, where like it wasn't like a lobby system. People would just, if there's somebody nearby, like one person that just happened to be nearby, they would just phase in, and you wouldn't know. Like I would remember the first time I saw somebody, I was in this big. If you play the game, there's this part where there's this big open area, and you have to create like this carpet bridge that kind of goes across. And I remember just working on this bridge, and then all of a sudden I see somebody just like standing there, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, and you can't talk to them. You can ping.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. And I'm like, hello, just ping, 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 hi, you know, and we literally, me and that guy or girl, I think it was a guy, because we went through it. We went through the whole game from that point on together, and it was just this random person, and I wish I remember their name. I haven't been on my PlayStation account in a while. We became friends. Like after the game ended, and we went through the part. I don't want to spoil.
Yeah.
Because you guys haven't played, I really think you should.
I think that's one of those games that you can't spoil.
Like, yeah,
you
like
just
I
don't want
to. I don't want to spoil it for the end, because the ending it was fantastic. It really is. Like when we were climbing, yeah, there. If you're watching and you play the moment where you are climbing, that's all I'll say. It gets you. It really gets you.
Wow.
Yeah, it turns out, because I've played through it multiple times. I got the white cloak that you can get, and because the white cloak you get it if you get all the collectibles in it, and it gives you like unlimited charge, or it recharges on itself, and because you get like power to like float and fly, and it doesn't recharge on its own, but if you get the white cloak, it does. Yeah, the soundtrack, the one thing that I get that always sticks, that I would always get like the biggest goosebumps for, is when you're playing down. And if you're playing, I'll describe the scene for you, and you will know it when it happens. It's like you're going down, and it's normally the game's in third person, but as you're going down, you take this left, and then the camera pans to the side, and your character's like this big going across the screen, and you just see the background and the music and the colors, and it's so good, and you're not even really doing anything. You're just going across yeah, I every time that part is coming up, I just get so excited for it, because it's just, you're just going down, you're avoiding these obstacles, and all of a sudden cut sideways to this just epic shot with this epic score in the background, and you're just going on, and I'm just like, yeah, like yeah, it's and the atmosphere that game builds. Like there's my favorite part in the whole game is actually I believe it's right after that or it's near that. It builds this atmosphere where you feel like you're underwater, but you're not. And I don't that yeah. See, you make that face.
You personally feel like that?
The atmosphere makes you feel like you're underwater. But you're not. You're just in a cave. And like I said, if you've played it, you'll probably be like, yeah, it does.
We might have to play it on the channel then.
You really should. It's a short game. If you just burn through it. If you just burn through it, you can go burn through it in about an hour or two. But it does have no words, no tutorials. Well, there's kind of tutorials in the beginning. It just tells you, hey, this is how you jump, this is how you move, go. You know, but that game will always stick in my mind as for a game in itself as a whole will always be one of my most favorite experiences ever. I even had my girlfriend Rebecca play it once. I was like, here, play it.
Yeah, a lot of people that I hear that play it have such an emotional attachment to that game that that they, they'll tear up at it, or they'll feel this weight of something that when they play this game, which is crazy, because like the way that a game can make it, especially a game that has no words that can build into that. Like my favorite experience of that, not really going into the rage side, but into the which I do have a few rage games, but I don't know if I'll have time for it. But the Walking Dead first series of the first season of The Walking Dead was by far something I've never experienced in a game, where I'm so emotionally attached to a character where you play as Lee, and we're playing it on the channel, so I'm trying to be a little vague on a lot of stuff. But as you play as Lee, who's this guy that has now been pretty much he was arrested for killing his wife's lover. So he found them in the act. He killed both of them, and he was arrested. This is a guy that came from being a college teacher to now being, who he is now. During that time frame, a car accident happens, and he gets pretty much a second chance to escape out of this. But as that second chance, he gets to experience the dead. And during that time, he finds really early on, he climbs over a fence to get away from the walkers, and he realizes and finds a little girl named Clementine. And with Clementine, I'd never been so emotionally drawn to a character where I'm going to protect this person at all costs, no matter what happens. And the game doesn't tell you to do that. You can treat her however you want. Yeah. But the game puts in a way that Clementine is now your responsibility. She has no mother and father around. Her babysitter that was taking care of her, you just beat in the head with a hammer. And she was hiding in her treehouse. So now she's your responsibility that Lee has taken on. And you go through this whole series with her being there. And then the way that the season 1 ends, I had never actually shed tears in a video game until the end of The Walking Dead season 1. It was so I can't believe this is happening, and I can't believe this is what has led up to this whole thing. I remember downloading it, and I think we've said it in the last episode of Bitcade, was in episode 1, where I said I had gotten the game, the first 2 episodes for free because Xbox had given away for it.
I have them. I remember that. I played it too.
And as I beat those, I was like, I need to buy them, and I bought all 5 of them. I even got Christian to play them, and as I was going through it, I got him hooked into it, and we were talking about it. And this game was totally based on your decisions, and the game can change whether you choose to do things or not. And the game is never the same as obviously you play it. It's kind of like Mass Effect, where the game is never going to be the same exact thing as you played the first time.
Yeah, but the end goal is kind of.
But yeah, the end goal happens no matter what. It's just the choices that lead up to it. And I felt so driven by this game that it got me into these. I want a story. These are the games I love. I like to be emotionally attached to these characters. That's why I fell in love with Mass Effect right away. That's why I tend to draw towards the Telltale games, because there is that sense of attaching to these characters that you sometimes wouldn't be able to. I'm not knocking games like The Last of Us or Uncharted or Rise of the Tomb Raider, but those characters are who they are, and you're just going to experience it.
Right.
But when games give you the option to be a part of that series, and you are now a character, you're now Lee Everett, you're going through this, do you take that box of food to feed the rest of the crew and give the sweatshirt to Clementine, or do you listen to Clementine that has said, we're stealing stuff, Like, what are you doing? What are you gonna do? You gonna show her that stealing stuff isn't wrong?
Yeah.
You know, these are the choices that you get to pick, and with the end result of it, I felt very attached to it, and I don't think I had ever experienced anything like how The Walking Dead ended. I'm sure there were games like that before, but there were.
For you,
But
and
yeah,
your
when
experiences,
I experienced The Walking Dead, that was definitely something special. That's why I've always fell in love with Telltale, and I own every Telltale game now. I actually, in the last Bitcade episode, I said I was playing Batman and Minecraft. I have beaten those games now.
Yeah.
And
How was Batman? I'm curious.
Batman was okay. I think there were a few things that could have been worked on. I think it was very good on setting up like a season 2.
Oh, okay.
So like I want like a season 2 of it. Minecraft was really long. There's 8 episodes of Minecraft, which is the longest. I think the longest one of them all.
That's because it's Minecraft, and they
yeah.
can like, oh, we can sell this to all of the kids.
Yeah, and the way that it ends is kind of on a note where they are not going to make another one, which I was fine with. Like if they don't make a Minecraft season 2, which I don't think you can, because the way that Minecraft ends is like Minecraft 1 through 4, I think, are the same story, and then 4 ends on a note where it's closed, like you can just stop playing, and then 5 through 8 are like
its own thing.
Like they have their same story, but they sort of connect there. But in no way do they talk about like the other times, other than leading up to where the situation you're in. But anyway, yeah, like a few rage games was Casper for PlayStation 2. They inverted there was the first controller I've ever played that was inverted, and they flipped it. So like moving forward was your right stick, and then moving up and down the camera was your left stick. If you're saying, "Oh, I could do that," no, it is so difficult. I get it, and it was inverted.
Yeah, that reminds me back with on like the N64 with games like Rainbow Six on the Nintendo 64. And on like the first Rainbow Six game was on the Nintendo 64, and Jet Force Gemini on the Nintendo 64. You used the C pad, C up to move forward, C down, and to basically the C buttons you worked as your left analog stick does now.
Oh, jeez.
And then the analog stick on there worked as your right analog stick to aim.
Wow. And then
just side note, I remember that's what that reminded me.
No,
of.
I
played the crap out of those games.
The other game, since topical, Lemony Snicket: A Series of Unfortunate Events for the PlayStation 2. I could not pass one part in the game where you have to play a piano, and it's all it is just boop, like up, hit down, hit triangle. I had never experienced that in my life. This is before Guitar Hero. This is before anything is. I had to have my friend. No, I didn't have Parappa the Rapper. But then my friend had to come over, beat that part for me to complete the game. And every time, like he did it for me twice, I actually had him come over specifically to beat that part for me. And then eventually I did it myself. Yeah, then the most rage quit thing I'd ever done was Ghosts and Goblins. I had it for the Game Boy. I had a Game Boy Advance port of it. I put that thing into my old DS, the first DS that had ever come out. The big Duke thing that looked like it was poorly designed. It was very bad, but it was all we had. But it was already hanging on a hinge.
Oh, God.
Because everyone had the problem with the DS actually being connected at one point. I'd never seen a DS fully, like in a full package, like after the launch. It was very rare. But I was playing it on my bunk bed, and I died for like the 400th time, because if you die in that game, you start all the way back over. Doesn't mean if you could make it all the way to the second to last level, you're starting all the way over. And I got so mad, and I went, "Son of a," and I cracked it in half, and I was like, and I lied. I lied about it. I said it fell off my bunk bed and it broke. And I didn't do it. I was like, I don't know what happened. I think it fell off the bunk bed and it cracked, and I couldn't do anything about it. And then the one thing I did eventually tell the truth was when my dad was talking to me on the phone, and he goes, "Well, at least you told the truth." And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, yeah. All right, so here's the story. I was playing Ghosts and Goblins, and then I told the whole thing. Eventually, I got a DS Lite, and now I have a 3DS. I have 2 of them now. But
Yeah. So I now can remember two, because when we were talking before, I couldn't remember any rage-inducing things that I have gone through, but I can think of 2 instances.
all right,
now.
give it to me very quickly. Wrapping them off.
All right, so to wrap it up, I remember for my brother and myself on the Super Nintendo was Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Oh, Battletoads.
Battletoads
Coming
Double
to an Xbox near you.
and Double Dragon.
Oh, so it's the Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Yes,
game.
Battletoads
Okay.
Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a combo.
Yeah, there's a
pack?
combo.
Yeah.
It's actually really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, no.
Are they like
It's really good.
shared universes?
I mean, I guess so now because of that game.
But no, that was actually a really fun game until the classic Battletoads little speeder bike levels, because that's in there.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
And when we would always play it co-op. Now, the problem is in order to beat that, we wouldn't. If one of us couldn't beat it, we would start over. Because we
Why
wanted.
would you do that to yourself?
Because if one of you loses all your lives and one of you passes, then you're by yourself for the rest of the game.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that's right.
So we
That's
would go
right.
through it over and over and over again until finally we both would pass it. Because it's just muscle memory. It's literally all it is muscle memory. And you mess up once or a couple times, and it's like, 'cause first getting there is hard. Because before the speeder bikes is this tunnel that
Isn't
down.
that game on the Rare Replay?
No.
No, it's not this one. What's isn't Battletoads on Rare?
Battletoads is
yeah.
not Battletoads Double Dragon. Battletoads Double Dragon is a one game.
Yeah, it's a
I thought
crossover,
it was.
yeah, it's
You
a
can play
crossover.
as the Battletoads, or you can play as
The
like,
Double Dragon guys. I
yeah.
don't remember
Really?
their names.
That's
Yeah.
Jimmy and like
Yeah, it's something
else.
cliche like that.
Jimmy.
Yeah, and so, but before the worst part about it is before the little speeder bike level is you would have to go down this tunnel on like the little ropes where you'd have to like kick and swing by, and those were where we would lose all of our lives because those were just as hard as the speeder bike because it's just that whole chunk. I don't know if we ever actually beat the game. And then the other one that I had was oh, I forgot. Cow Ren? Dynasty Warriors. PS2. Dynasty Warriors 2. I don't remember the character. I think his name is Cow Ren.
Kylo Ren.
No.
He has an attitude problem. So.
If you've played it, it's the guy who has the shield with the sword in it that he can pull out and like do things with. Getting his final weapon was the most frustrating thing because I played the crap. I maxed out all the characters. I got everybody's final weapons in that game, except his because I couldn't do it because you had to go in. You had to destroy all of like the siege weapons and all this within like 3 or so minutes. Like this ridiculous time frame that even with the fastest horse, max stats, best weapon that you can get up to that point, like you just couldn't. You couldn't do it. And I remember just getting so mad because he was literally the last character that I had in the whole game. There's like 60 characters or something like that to pick from.
Good grief.
Oh, I played the crap out of that game. That was my game. But yeah, that for
was
me
your game.
that was my game back then. But that was I think the only time I like physically like slammed my controller. This is the only time I could ever
Full on rage quit mode.
Yeah, just
Boom.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a real bad attitude problem when I played games back in the day. Was for some reason now I'm kind of over it, but like I used to. I mean, I broke a console for it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
And that's not including the frustration like over other players and like MMOs. I count that. That's totally different. But
All right.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to wrap things up as it has been a long one. Before we go, are you playing anything? Overwatch. I know you've been playing a lot of Overwatch.
I have. I got to plat just a day ago or 2 days
Didn't
ago.
you say you
or
like played like 29 hours in the last like 2 days?
Yes. I stayed up all day one day going.
You're wearing a
from-
jacket today.
Yes, to commemorate the occasion.
The loss of
I
time
went
that you
from-
had.
I went all the way from like low gold to low plat because that's how it works, and
Yeah.
then now I'm trying to get to diamond, and I've been taking a break because I was burning myself because I stayed up so late, like just playing. This was solo queue, by the way. You can do it.
yeah. I finally just did my placement games. I didn't want to play competitive.
Yeah, you did
but
it last
then
night, right?
I did.
I guess
most.
now a month ago.
I did.
You did
Yeah,
a month ago at this point.
I did 4 of them 2 days ago, and then the last 6 yesterday.
Is that the only game you're playing? Is Overwatch as well?
Pretty much.
Play a little Steep, haven't you?
I've been playing a little Steep still.
Yeah.
But that's what I was playing last time we did this too. So.
Yeah.
And I got back into Diablo. I don't know if I was still playing that, but no. Yeah, I got back into Diablo.
Nice. I am playing. I actually picked up way too many games. I've already ruining myself this year, but I have Steep as well because I got it free when I bought Watch Dogs 2. But I'm gonna try to get through at least a couple levels of Steep, and then we're gonna make some content for that.
We're gonna try and do some cooperative stuff. We'll probably try
Hopefully that has happened by this point, but we'll figure it out.
We'll try and figure that out. Yeah. And then at least figure out some way to make it more entertaining. Because we'll figure it out, and hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go and follow us on SoundCloud. We are soundcloud.com/Primal Target. Over there, you can subscribe to us, and you can download this podcast to your mobile device at any time. It's right there free. It's for Android and for Apple. There's no discrimination towards that. You can also subscribe to us right here on YouTube. You already are here if you're watching the video portion of it. If you're listening to audio, just search Primal Target. It's a logo that is a P and a T that look like a joystick. It's perfectly designed right there in paint. And if you want to go ahead and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Primal Target is where you can find us on Facebook. Twitter, we are Primal_Target because the person that has Primal Target won't give it to us. And we are also on Instagram. No pictures, but you can follow us there anyway. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ryan Atemore. This was David. This was Quinn. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Were you going to say your name?
I thought I was going to, but that's all right. That's okay.
Say it. Just say it now.
No.